Hello, everyone, and thank you for taking time from your busy schedules to join us for this Training Tuesday. I am Heidi Reese with the Dayton Superior Training Department, and we're very glad that you could join us today for our Taper Lock Training Tuesday. Before we get to it, there's a couple of items to go over. Like usual, just let you know that you're muted so that there won't be any disruptions on the line and everyone can hear the presenter. But please feel free to provide any questions that you might have through the Zoom chat functionality, and we'll get to those at the very end. In addition, each of our webinars are recorded and placed on the Dayton Superior YouTube, as well as the DaytonSuperior.com. Just search for Training Tuesday. You'll find two links when you do. One is to register for the next one, so go ahead and do that. And then the next link will be to view those old ones in the past. All right. So just to let you know, this presentation is intended for training purposes only. Any of the products that are going to be gone over will have technical specifications, technical data sheets, and safety data sheets. All can be found on DaytonSuperior.com. So look on the website for anything that you might find interesting through this presentation. So for those of you out there who may not know who Dayton Superior is, we are the leading provider of engineered solutions for the concrete construction industry, and we specialize in accessories. Today we're going to be talking about the splicing part of the accessories. In addition, we have chemicals and forming with proven solutions in the Simon's Form and shoring, concrete repair and restoration, bridge deck, rebar splicing like I've already mentioned, precast and tilt-up construction. In addition, we have the chemical solutions that you might need for your specially formulated needs on the specifications. We formulate those to meet the design of those specifications, whether it be for new construction or retrofit repair needs. That's a mouthful. Simon's Forming and Shoring is very adaptable, strong, and saves labor costs, so that's great for that side of the business if you're needing that. And we do have the largest, most experienced engineering and sales team out there in the industry, and offer world-class customer care with 24-hour ordering and account status information. But let's not forget, our technical support team is here to provide project specification solutions so that your project is completed on time. They can help you out with what you need. So let's get to our actual presentation about taper threaded splicing methods for the taper lock. With us to discuss all of these topics is Matt Mayer, who is one of our technical representatives in the splicing group. Matt is a graduate of Texas A&M University and has been in and around the construction industry for 15 years, dealing with insulation and fireplaces. For 10 of those years, he has worked with rebar fabrication and concrete accessories, and he's a member of the Concrete Reinforcing Steel Institute, or CRSI, and sits on the committee of the Reinforcing Bar Fabrication for them. He also participates with the Anchorages and Splicing Committee as a member of the American Concrete Institute, or ACI, group. We are so pleased to have him with Dayton Superior as one of our technical sales representatives and to spread his knowledge and assist customers with any technical questions. So with that, go ahead and take charge, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Heidi. Afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you guys hopping on the line here with us for Training Tuesday. Like Heidi said, it will be pretty quick and a little informal. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand virtually, throw them in the chat function there, or just save them till the end. We'll have question and answer time at the end. But if there are no questions to get us started off, then we will jump right into our topic of the day, which is our taper lock program. So our taper lock product line is our, what I consider the Cadillac of our Dayton Superior splicing portfolio. And we'll get into it here in just a few minutes. First, though, let's go through just some of the basics of splicing. Make sure that everybody's up to speed on what we're talking about and how we put rebar together. So there are two general types of splice that you can have in the field. One of those, if I can get my computer to go the right direction, is a lap splice. We're all familiar with that. Lap splice is just putting two pieces of rebar side by side and then using a bar tie or a Makita tie gun, something like that, to tie them together. The second one is a mechanical splice, and this is where you're going to use some type of mechanical connection, whether that's a threaded connection like the bars you see there in the picture, or a swage crimped connection, or probably the most popular would be a shear bolt connection where you have a shear bolt coupler. So a lap splice, dictionary definition, is just overlapping of two reinforcing bars by placing them side by side, and you determine how much of that bar needs to be overlapped by the size of the bar. So a number 4 requires less lap than, say, a number 12. Nobody has a number 12. Say a number 10. They are very concrete dependent, so that does cause some issues. What that means is that the strength of the bar or the strength of the connection is not determined by the lap itself and by the bars that are by the ties that are holding it together. Instead, they are the strength of it is determined by the concrete that's around it, how much concrete's in contact with it, what the strength of the concrete is, all that stuff. The reliability of those is pretty insufficient under cyclic loading per ACI R21, and they can't be used for larger bars like number 14 or 18, and really shouldn't be used in vertical applications. Mechanical splice, on the other hand, is the complete assembly of an in-bearing sleeve, coupler, or coupling sleeve to accomplish the splicing of reinforcing bars. And basically that allows the bars to behave in a manner like continuous links of reinforcing steel bars. So what that means is the mechanical coupler's job is to take two pieces of rebar, whether they're 24 inches long a piece or 24 feet long a piece, and allow them to work like one continuous long piece of rebar, to make those two pieces have pretty much all the same properties, all the same strengths, and everything that a single piece of rebar would have. Like we mentioned, there's 5 main technologies that deal with mechanical splicing. There's shear bolt, taper thread, parallel thread, grout filled, and the less common one that we talked about is swage. It's a pretty cumbersome process, difficult to do in the field, so you don't see it quite as much anymore. Biggest differences between the two. We've talked about a couple of them, but we'll just go side by side here. Lap splices, very concrete dependent, okay? Really depends what the strength of the concrete is and how good a job the placers did tying them together for them to maintain their structural integrity. Mechanical splices, on the other hand, are lab tested, right? So we do all of the testing, all of the determination by a third party, independent of concrete in a lab. So they maintain their strength regardless of what's going on around them. Lap splices tend to cause congestion issues and rock pockets. Basically what that means is there's aggregate inside concrete. We all know that. And so when that aggregate or when that concrete's poured, a lot of times the congestion from lap splices will cause that to build up in one spot. You'll get a rock pocket that causes weakness in the structure, and you eventually get spalling or cracking and failures in your structures. Mechanical splices obviously would eliminate that because you're trimming down the number of bars that you have in a particular spot, particularly in places where you have connections, so column to beam connections or beam to beam connections. It's a really good place for mechanical couplers to eliminate some of those congestion issues. As we mentioned earlier, lap splices really insufficient for vertical applications. Again, those bars are still going to have some slip and movement in them. And so if you're in a seismic zone, especially, that movement gets amplified and exaggerated and causes failures in columns. Whereas mechanical splices are designed for vertical applications and to help maintain the structural integrity in a superstructure. A couple of other highlights for mechanical splices: they're precise and reliable connections. What that means is they really are designed to put two pieces of rebar end to end and make them perform like one long piece of bar. So it's a very precise connection. They go through rigorous testing that makes sure that they can achieve whatever strengths or functionality they're designed to achieve. And a stronger connection and performance during seismic events. And one last thing we'll highlight here is just the two types. I mentioned a couple of times there's different types of splice. Really, we keep it simple. It's two different types, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is 125% specified yield strength of the bar. What that means, easiest explanation is just if you put a piece of rebar into a vise on each end and started to pull on it, eventually that straight piece of rebar is going to elongate. You're going to start to see it stretch out. At the point that it stretches out, that's the yield point. So for a grade 60 piece of rebar, that's at 60,000 pounds. So when you put two pieces of rebar into a coupler, or you thread them together, however you connect them mechanically, they have to be able to achieve that strength plus 25% more. So in the case of grade 60 bar, the coupler has to hold rebar together and not allow it to yield until it reaches 75,000 psi. And then a type 2 just has to achieve all of that plus 100% of the specified tensile strength. Tensile strength is the point at which that bar, when you pull on it, will break. So every piece of rebar, every grade has a given a given tensile point. And so for grade 60, that's 90,000 pounds. So when you put two pieces of bar together in a mechanical coupler, again, whether they're threaded together, whether it's through a shear bolt coupler, those two bars have to be held together up to that 90,000 pounds. And that's what the type 1 and type 2 differences are. That's usually where we get the most questions. So I don't see anything, but if you guys have questions at the end, again, please feel free to jump in and ask. So what are the basics? Again, the mechanical splices help solve challenges of connecting rebar and segmental force. The pictures you see here, this was a highway that was being done, just a roadway. And so obviously they can't pour all of that in one shot. So they lay out forms. You have some tie bars that go through the forms. One day you pour the concrete, and then the next day you come back, you pour that next segment. And those two segments are tied together by the bars, by the mechanical couplers. You could also do this with form savers, where you wouldn't have to have bars protruding to the forms like that. A lot of guys like to use those. These are metal forms. They're fancy. They've got holes preset in them for highway guys. A lot of guys, when they're using wooden forms, will prefer the form saver method because they don't have to put holes through their wood. They can reuse those forms over and over again. Allows for future expansion and future pours, and again, protects those forms from damage. So let's get into the meat of what we're talking about today, and that's our taper lock series. You see there it's listed as our 300 series. That's just simply because we do our splicing portfolio in a numerical pattern, starting at the beginning with our DBR series. That's our 50 series, so everything in that one is a 50 number. Then we go up to DBDI. Everything in that series is 100 something. Then our bar lock, which is our most popular series, everything in that is a 200 number. Then we get to taper lock, again, the Cadillac of our portfolio. That's our 300 series, and we wrap up with our grout sleeve, which is the 400 series. So taper lock is our taper threaded offering to the market. Basically what that means is you take a piece of rebar and you place it in this giant pencil sharpener here, and it will put a thread on the end of the bar. It's a very specific proprietary tapered thread that works with our system and our system only. But those machines, the ones you see there that Chris is standing next to, are what we place in fabricators around the country. It's very safe for the fabricators. Everything that happens inside that machine. The bar doesn't move. Nothing externally moves on the machine. All of the cutting fluid, chasers, everything is housed in that machine. But it allows fabricators around the country to put a thread on the bar. Then they take the coupler, they take it out to the job site. They can put any number of connections on it and make the structure what it needs to be, what it's designed to be. So what is our taper lock system? Again, threaded mechanical splicing system. A couple of the highlights: it is a type 2 splice for grade 60, 75, 80, or 100. That's really important because it means that that machine can thread any size, any grade of bar for whatever your project need is. There's no nothing special that you would need to do that other than change out the chasers. You can do it for all sizes, number 4 through number 18. Again, we place those machines at fabricators nationwide. And the big highlight for our system is that there are no installation tools. That means it's hand tight at 5 foot-pounds. What does that mean for your customer? It means there's no torque wrenches. There's no calibration of torque wrenches. The inspector doesn't have torque wrenches. It means that you can take our system, place it on a project, and anybody on that project can put the couplers together. Anybody on that project can be put to work using our system with virtually no training. It's extremely economical for bridges and high rises, and we do, as we'll talk about here in a minute, also have this system available if you don't want a machine or you just don't have the need for a machine in your facility. You do have the availability to get those bars from us directly. This is just a chart showing our IAPMO third-party approval at 5 foot-pounds for our entire portfolio, all sizes, all grades, and every product that we have in the portfolio is at 5 foot-pounds. So let's get into what the portfolio is, the products specifically themselves. We start with our D310 taper lock standard coupler. This is just used to connect 2 bars of the same size. So 4 to 4, 6 to 6, 11 to 11. One of those bars has to be able to move. What that means is you can have one in concrete with the coupler attached to it, but you have to be able to spin the other bar, obviously, to get it into place. 80% of all the connections that we see are done with a D310, and it is by far the strongest and best connection that's out there on the market today. Eliminates congestion and helps really eliminate the bar splice or lap splices that you would see in the field. Sorry. Next, we've got our 320 transitional coupler. This is just like the D310, but the ends are tapped to different sizes. We see these a lot in columns, especially you would go from a 7 to an 8 or a 6 to a 7. They're just used to connect bars of 2 different sizes. Same thing, one of the bars has to be able to spin. But if you're looking to eliminate some congestion and you're looking to transition from one size to another, it's a great option. Then we have our 330 positional coupler. So these are also used in columns, but this is when you have 2 cages that are already put together. You would put this on the bottom cage and then lower the top cage in place, and you can rotate half of the coupler up into place, tightening it onto the bar that's coming into place without having to have your measurements be exact, let's say. So it's really great for allowing for some movement in the way the placers put the bars together. Also good if you've got a column and you're just starting your slab and you're coming in to lower a column into the slab. It's great for attaching that way. Or if you've got a hook at the end of a bar and you're needing that hook to be in a specific position that you wouldn't be able to get it into with a shear bolt coupler, then you can use these to get that in place. Then we have our 340 taper lock flange coupler. This is our form saver. And as you can see in the picture, that's really what it's used for. It's a D310 with a flange on it. It connects 2 bars of the same size. Great for form saver, segmental pours, precast application. If you've got future work down the road in a month or a year or a decade, it's great for setting up for that. They come covered and sealed so that you don't have any weathering issues or anything like that. And it's very quickly become really the most popular form saver that we see in the field today. And then we have our 350, 351 taper lock end anchor. This is used in place of hooks. So when you have congestion or you have a lot of bars that need to go into a small space like you see in these pictures, this was the JP Morgan World Chase headquarters. These bars originally were designed with hooks going out of them. So there were hooks going left, right, up, down, any way they could figure out how to put them. And it was just a congestion nightmare. So our rep at the time spoke with the engineer, got them to approve using end anchors instead. This allows for the same, if not better, connectivity and hold in the concrete than a 90-degree hook would typically do. But obviously eliminates all the congestion. So you can see here, all of them lined up nicely side by side, no congestion issues. Concrete's going to be able to flow really well. They're able to be put on a fixed or rotatable bar. So if you already have a bar in place that has a thread on it, you can put the end anchor on it without having to change anything. They're available in a 5AB or a 10AB. 5AB is really the most popular. You're only going to see 10AB in the seismic zones. And again, they're typical in starter bars, footings, or column to slab connections when you're looking to avoid and eliminate some congestion. And then finally here, we've got our D360 weldable coupler. This is really used if you need to connect to structural steel. We see it a lot in industrial applications, LNG plants, that kind of thing, where you've got a lot of steel, a lot of plate, and guys need to connect rebar for one reason or another. This, you just thread it onto the end of the bar, and then you would put a bead around the end of it to connect it to that plate. We've done quite a few of these in Louisiana on some different LNG projects that are going on over there. So the only specification on that is that the bead there would need to be determined by the engineer of record on the project. That's not something that our guys do. So two other products that we have available, like we mentioned, the male and female are available from Dayton Superior directly if you're not looking for the couplers. These have been used a little bit on highway jobs here in Texas, and then we see them at different points when people are just wanting the bar to be forged and connected. Sometimes it's easier to get these from us than if you're on a deadline and not able to do the work yourself in your shop. It's our D368 form saver. Again, that end that you see in the top right corner is just like our DBDI line. It's forged, it's upsized, but then it's tapped to a taper thread. So this is all one continuous piece. There's no welding, there's no connection there. It is a single piece of bar that's forged into that form. And they're available in whatever configuration you need. If you need it to be straight, 90 degrees, 180s, if you want double female ends, however you need it, whatever angles, we can make that happen. And those go side by side with our D370 threaded bar. This is just the male bar. Again, we can thread these for you if you're wanting to use the system, but not really in the market to place a machine. Then we can take care of the male side for you. Again, completely configured to whatever you need. If you want them to have a bend in it, or like you can see on the bottom there, even if you want to have a button head or a bolt head or double ended, we can do really anything with these. Our guys that fabricate these are do some pretty magical stuff with them. So feel free to reach out and ask whatever the request may be. This is just a highlight of the product line. Again, going over everything that we just looked at. Two things that I'll highlight here just across the line that you can see is they are available for every size of rebar, number 4 through 18, and all of them, every single one of them is put together hand tight. There are no tools required for any of this system. So why choose taper lock? I think, hopefully, you should be able to identify one of the advantages, but we'll cover a few of them. First, we'll talk about the machine. I mentioned it a little bit earlier when we saw the picture of it, but the machine we really have designed with the fabricator in mind and the end user in mind. We know that time is money. We know that safety is money. And so we don't want to do anything that would put a shop in danger of being shut down for anything. We don't want to put any of your workers in danger. So everything we've done with the machine really is for those things to be kept in mind. So the tracers last longer than the competition. The switch out process is faster than the competition. The throughput that you can see here on this chart is faster than the competition. And the machine doesn't have any moving parts on the outside of it. So everything happens internally, which makes it safer than the competition. So from a machine standpoint in the fab shops, we really have tried to highlight all of those things. And then in the field for the installer, the biggest advantage, as we've mentioned multiple times, is hand tightening. Just saves a lot of time. There's no torque wrenches to buy. There's no torque wrenches to calibrate before every job. Your inspector doesn't have to have a torque wrench. Your inspector doesn't have to go around the job site with a torque wrench checking multiple spots. He can just walk around, test a few with his hand, know that they're hand tight, know they're in place, and everything's good to go. And then the taper thread in and of itself, I mentioned at the very beginning, proprietary thread. It aligns the couplers better cross-threading is virtually eliminated. I'm not going to say it's completely eliminated. I've seen some guys in the field that have gotten sideways on it. But compared to an NC coupler that has a regular NC thread, the cross-threading issues and alignment issues are virtually eliminated. So resources available to you guys. I was looking to see no questions, but resources that are available to you. This is just our our splicing. I can talk. Our splicing product selection guide. It's been a day already. This just lines up all of our systems to show you guys in a little quick cross-reference chart what you can use them for and where they can be put, as well as what grade of rebar they're qualified for, and that goes all the way over to the column just before the end, 300 series taper lock that we've been talking about today. Good for everything up to grade 100, and really any connection that you have. We do have a taper lock ordering form that we can send out to you. Allows you to put in, again, if you are a fabricator who wants to use the system but not really ready to consider having a machine placed in your facility, you can certainly use this form and just choose what coupler you need, what bars you need, what angles you need, all those kinds of things, and our customer service staff will be more than happy to help you walk through that and make sure we get everything right and get it out to you. Who to contact. Different information requires different people. You've got your 4 main ones. Technical service reps like myself. I've got 2 counterparts across the nation. We have Mike Best out on the West Coast, and then Sam Connolly on the East Coast. They are both very knowledgeable men who've been around the industry for a while and do exactly what I do for the Central U.S., which is try to help answer questions and get you guys the best product that you need on your project. So feel free to reach out to one of us. You also have your local DSMs that should be visiting you guys on a regular basis, and hopefully you feel comfortable reaching out to them. Then we have our customer service team that we mentioned. They are available anytime that you need them, and our forming group as well. They deal with the splicing products quite a bit, so they're very knowledgeable and able to be helpful as well. And then we have our national training manager, Chuck, who is available for on-site product application and installation training. He'll come out and do a lunch and learn with you. He'll come out and walk on the job site with you, whatever you need, whether it's just a phone call or somebody on site. Chuck is always available to do that. And he can be reached at training@DaytonSuperior.com. And we have a couple more. Our e-commerce site allows you guys to get in and see the different products, see our technical data sheets. If you go to the product pages, you can download TDS sheets. You can look at our handbooks. You can look at forming engineering programs. You can get the order forms, and whatever other information you need. We are not at a lack of information to provide to you or resources for you. Please feel free to reach out to us with anything that you need. This is our IAPMO forms. Those are both available on the website. And I think that's everything. So we'll take a look real quick, see if there's any questions. If not, I will let Heidi take back over.
All right. Thanks, Matt. Great job. Yeah, I don't see any questions so far. You did a great job on the resources. There's tons out there for you as he went over. So please feel free to use DaytonSuperior.com to find that. And absolutely correct. Chuck and I are here for you for the training jobs. I organize his schedule, and you can reach out to us at training@DaytonSuperior.com, and we can see what we can do for you. Whether it's the customized training for longer than a lunch and learn even, we can make that happen. I don't see any questions. I'll give you just a second, and I just want to remind everyone that we do these every week on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today's presentation has been recorded and will be available on our training site located on DaytonSuperior.com. I think I caught the tongue ties from you, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on today.
Oh, it's fine. They understand. All right. Well, I don't see any questions, so I think we'll wrap it up here. I appreciate you taking the time, Matt, to come and teach us, and all of you on the phone, I appreciate you coming and learning. Thanks, and everyone have a happy Tuesday.